Once a red, always a red. Thank you, Dean Henderson, as Forest beat Crystal Palace by a goal to nil. Welcome to my match reaction. Good morning, good evening, or good night. Hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to my match afterthought, shall we say, on Forest 1, Bristol Meth Palace 0. And Forest basically smoked them, man. It wasn't the greatest game, let's be honest, but at the end of the day, we got the 3 points. That's all that matters, and we found out that Dean Henderson still misses the City ground. If you're enjoying the content, please don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to Forest Fan TV, and one of our centre-backs is now officially live on Micarera, and of course, I've gone and invested in him, and that of course is Murillo. All you need to do if you want to invest in him, because God knows what he's going to be worth in 6 months, a year, maybe even a month, you can make money off your football knowledge, basically like a stock market, fully protected because it's in the blockchain. Go scan this QR code to go check out Micarera. And like I've just done, you can invest in Murillo, and I've put 15 quid in, and let's see where that goes. Okay, let's jump into the video. So there's a lot of positives to take from that game, a couple of negatives. As always, we're going to be as objective as we can be, red tinted goggles off, so to speak. But I'm just happy. I'm just loving what I'm seeing. These are the type of Foresty moments that would be very Foresty in years gone by, especially in recent Premier League years, go back to the Championship years, etc., where Forest are on the cusp of doing something good, and then they do a Forest. What do I mean by that? In the video the other day, we talked about this is a huge week for Forest. If Forest can beat Palace, and if Forest can beat Leicester, we start to cement our place as serious contenders for top 10. Who knows, outside bet for the European slots. And the way we're playing is absolutely getting us there now. The mentality, the strength, the calmness. Look, I wasn't calm in those last 15 minutes, but there was never a feeling of Forest are going to do a Forest towards the end of that match. You just felt it would take some silly mistake or something like that for us to crack and crumble against Palace. Now, let's be real, the game itself, probably for a neutral, wasn't an exciting watch. It wasn't the edge of the seat basketball style match or anything like that. And that's because Nuno has his set formation of tactics, and this is working. This isn't my dream style of football, but you got to understand we have to progress from what we had under Cooper in low block, turgid, boring football to this mid block that Nuno's going to do. And once that's cemented, we can then elaborate maybe into the summer next season, the recruitment strategy, etc. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. A couple of key points I want to point out is the way, and I want to give Nuno his praise here. It's the way that he's understood the problems at Forest. When he took this job on, there was issues with our set pieces. We were conceding left, right and centre. Balls coming into the box, corner goals, man. Every time we conceded a corner last year, I felt like it was a penalty against us. It's like hockey, man, penalty corners. And I'm sure a lot of you guys had the same feelings as well. But now, get this. Forest haven't conceded from a corner at all in over 45 corners this season. That's ridiculous. We're actually ranked number 1 when it comes to no corners conceded, because obviously we're on 0. And there's many defensive stats that I can chuck your way. So let me shout out some to you. Forest are first in the league for having goals conceded 2 or plus in a game. We're number 1 there. We've only conceded once. Conceding opening goals, we've only been behind once. Obviously, that was against Fulham. Conceding from corners, as we've just talked about, and goals conceded in general, we've only conceded 6, and we're second in the league behind Liverpool. We've conceded less goals than Arsenal. So when I said that we have the better defensive pairing in M&M over the likes of Saliba and Gabriel, in a team that's meant to be more advanced than us, this is why, and we're ahead of them. Now, do I expect that to stay like that during the season? Obviously not. If we look at XG against, Forest is 7.8, which is second in the league. And XG per shots faced, Forest at 0.084, which is third in the league. And these stats were before the Palace match, so they would have just gone on and improved even further. So this is what Nuno does. He fixes from the back first. And this is what proper football coaches should do. Fix from the back and then work your way up the pitch. Fix the back, build the spine, and put the sprinkles on the top. And overall, honestly, I'm really happy. I'm ecstatic about it. Now, the other thing to note yesterday was obviously our most creative player, Morgan Gibbs-White, wasn't there. In fact, let's go a step further. We haven't got Sangare and we haven't got Danilo. You could argue that's our number one choice midfield three. 6 and the 8 for Sangare and Danilo, and Morgan Gibbs-White in the 10. We know that because Nuno tried to start with that in the opening game against Bournemouth. None of our midfield, our first choice midfield, were there. I would argue now Elliot Anderson is fully in the shouting there, maybe to get in ahead of Danilo if Danilo was fit. Elliot Anderson, for me, I just want to talk about him next. What a player he is. He just seems to be able to do everything. He can play in the 8, he can play on the wing, he can play in the 10 as he did yesterday. And I think he's shown enough that if Morgan Gibbs-White were to, hopefully not, but get injured again, or as some of you were saying yesterday, Morgan Gibbs-White were to drop in the 8, we could put Elliot Anderson in the 10. It gives us different options now. Whereas for so long, Morgan Gibbs-White has had that position locked down, which I want him to because he's our most creative player. But what I do not like is a lack of competition across the pitch and across places. And I felt Morgan Gibbs-White, he didn't become comfortable, but that position is comfortable for him. He's the first name on the team sheet in the number 10. Now Elliot Anderson is going to give a little push to Nuno to say, see what I did yesterday, mate? I can perform there. And that in turn creates more competition and keeps Morgan Gibbs-White hungry to achieve more and more. It's only a good thing for Forest. The other one I want to talk about is Matt Sells. I almost have to say sorry to him. I've never said he's not a good keeper. I've just never been, he's not my style of keeper. I like a keeper with a bit of S-housery, you know what I mean? Like Samba, I saw that in Miguel as well. But Matt Sells is producing some exquisite saves at the moment. Another clean sheet for him. That's 3 this season so far in 8 games. And you can argue he's won Forest a decent amount of points this season so far. Am I utterly convinced by him? No, but I think it's more a keeper personality thing rather than the ability with the gloves when it comes to me and Matt Sells. And I just think he's made that shirt now his own. He is the number one choice. And I don't think I'll be putting Miguel in my predicted or wanted starting 11s at the moment. And the main thing for me, I'd say this is what won me over on Matt Sells yesterday. It wasn't so much the saves he's made. I've seen that happen week in, week out. He's produced them when required. It's the fact that he showed me that he doesn't always have to go long with the ball. He was spicing it up. You saw our goal kick routine was different now. Murillo passes it to Matt Sells and then Matt Sells was distributing it out. That's what the other teams above us tend to do now. And we're starting to fit that profile. And I thought his distribution was good. And he comes across as a bit of a leader. So I'm happy with Matt Sells. And let's talk about Cristiano Edinho. He's an enigma. There's nothing else to say about him than an enigma. But he's got this air of arrogance about him now, which I love. If you look at his interviews, and I saw the one he did with Sky Sports post the match yesterday, it doesn't faze him. He doesn't seem to be like shocked that he's scored or shocked that we've won. It's all being taken in his stride. Now, that's going to come from experience, isn't it? And I just sit back and I just think back to the Chris Wood that walked through the door at the start, or 2 years ago, whenever it was in January. And honestly, how crap he was. I'll be straight with you. One of the worst strikers I'd seen in many a year. And he just was doing nothing. And as I said to you, when Nuno came in, he fits into that style that Nuno likes. And Nuno has to take credit as well. And obviously Chris Wood for what he's producing. But it is absolutely sensational. And every week you just think, he can't do it again, can he? And then he produces. The finish was good. Obviously, our boy Henderson, shout out, once a red, always a red, gave it a helping hand. But as they always say, if you don't shoot, you don't score. And that's what Chris Wood is doing. He's got more goals than some Premier League teams have combined right now. It's getting ridiculous, and long may this hot streak continue. But what I will say is the same thing that I mentioned about Morgan Gibbs-White. We need someone to be pushing him. Right now, he hasn't really got the competition. As much as I would love Taiwo to flourish, it just feels that the gap's getting bigger, if that makes sense, between him and Taiwo. There isn't competition in that number 9 place. Now, why I think that will be different in comparison to the Morgan Gibbs-White scenario is that Chris Wood is many more years more experienced. He's not going to get complacent about it. Again, not that I'm saying Morgan Gibbs-White will, but Chris Wood will be level-headed about this. Long term, I still do think we need another striker. I'm not going to shy away from that fact. But right now, when he's on fire, man, that firewood is red hot. Now, the only negative I have from this game is Elanga. I said in the summer, when Newcastle came in, we should have taken the money. It would have made sense. I don't know what's not working with him right now. He's got the ability. He's got the pace. We know he can score. We saw a lot of it under Cooper last season. I just wonder if we're playing to his strengths. I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but I don't know if he suits this Nuno formation. And when you contrast it with the way that Jota Silva came on and the energy he had, the little skills and tricks that he was producing, the strength he had as well, and the confidence to go at the defense, they look night and day. And that for me is the one mistake Nuno's making right now. Elanga has to be dropped, I hate to say, and replaced by Jota Silva. And Jota Silva needs to be given a run of games. We say it every time, everyone says it, that footballers get better when they've had a run in the team. Yet Jota hasn't had a run in this team at all. And he's still coming on and producing when he comes on. You know, he wasn't directly involved when we scored the goal, but it doesn't, it can't be coincidental that a couple of minutes after that substitution, we suddenly create the chance and get the goal. But that's my only negative. Right now, I'm looking forward to this Leicester game. This is huge. We have to win this one. There's a lot of bragging rights to be had on this one. And we've got a lot of build up for it this week. But before we get to that, Grumpy Old Reds will be on tonight. It's either going to be 8 or 8:30. I'm still sorting out all the finer details. We'll have the full panel on tonight. We can there, bask in the glory, and maybe we give Rich a quick call while we're on there. So we'll see you tonight for Grumpy Old Reds. Let me know how your mood is today. Was it worth the 16-day wait of crappy international football and then watching all the other teams play over the weekend to get that first home win? And sitting on it this side of the fence, I can now say yes. Forest are 8th in the league. Guess what? That's exactly where I predicted would finish. It's early days. I would love to be wrong because we end up higher. But let's see how the season goes on. And let's see what happens on Friday at the Cooper Derby. If you've enjoyed the content, please don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to Forest Fan TV, as always, if you are new. We'll see you tonight on Grumpy Old Reds. Come on, you Reds.